Hello and good morning. This is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I want to welcome all of you around the world to another edition of This Morning with Soulivity. It's so good to have you here. Listen, this is a time for us to create a space to have some real conversations about what's happening in our world. And we definitely want to include all of you in the conversation. So remember, we want to know who you are, where you're listening from, and if you have any questions or comments or anything that you want to talk about, please put it into the chat during the show because we want to hear from you. Today, we're joined by some very, very special friends of mine. They're also TV hosts and collaborators, Sheila Applegate, Teresa Greco, and Dr. Chanel de Guzman. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Morning. I'm excited for today.
Oh, me too. There's something about today that's just the energy is just like really, really like good. You
Yeah.
guys feel that at all?
Absolutely. This is Dr. Chanel. I do because this is my first time on This Morning with Soulivity among friends and listening audience.
Woohoo!
So I'm super excited.
Wow. Well, we're glad to have you here. And this is going to be a fantastic show. Um, but let's get started. I'm starting out today with a bit of important but sad news. We were talking about it a little bit earlier, and that is it's from the world of music. Jeff Beck, the celebrated guitarist who played with the Yardbirds and led the Jeff Beck Group, has died at the age of 78. This is from one of his representatives that confirmed this. He was often described as one of the greatest guitarists of all time, whose fingers and thumbs were famously insured for 7 million pounds.
Wow.
Did you guys know that?
I did not.
Yeah.
Yeah, he pioneered jazz rock, experimented with fuzz and distortion effects, and paved the way for heavier subgenres such as psych rock, heavy metal over the course of his career. He was also an 8-time Grammy winner. He's recipient of the Ivor Novello for outstanding contribution to British music and was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, both as a solo artist and as a member of the Yardbirds. So we'll pay homage to him. Thank you, Jeff Beck, for all that you have done over the years. You were a inspiration to me when I was a performing musician. So thank you so much for that. While we get into our hot topics, why don't we just jump right on in, and we'll go to our newbie. Dr. Chanel, we'll go to you first for your topic of the day.
Thank you, Brian. And I'm super happy to be a co-host on This Morning with Soulivity. So, excuse me, my topic for today is something you and I were just talking about by happen chance, but it's actually my topic, which is procrastination. So I heard Sheila talk earlier about, your goals and, how the new year is starting out for you. And fortunately for me, it's starting out really, really good. But last night I ran into a bout of procrastination and it really threw me for a loop. And I thought, wow, I know I'm not the only one because as it turns out, Brian and Sheila and Teresa, right?
Yep.
Teresa, yes, that 20% of the US adult population are chronic procrastinators.
Wow.
Whew, like I'm not alone. Of course, I knew I wasn't alone. I didn't know it was 20%. And so today I'd like to talk about life-changing procrastination effects and its strategies. And I thought, let's dive into this. So, essentially, procrastination from a very basic definition is putting off those tasks that
Yeah.
either we don't enjoy or it's causing us some type of trepidation,
Yeah.
despite the consequences that we know are sitting on the other side if we don't finish this task, or all the self-defeating, behaviors that come along with it, and then the stress. So, as a personal example, I mean, I have a proposal due today. I started it a week ago, with some preliminary meetings with the decision maker, but I didn't really start writing in earnest until yesterday. And I'm thinking rationally, I know better, but why is it that, I'm continuing to procrastinate? So that's going to be my question for today, because it can disrupt many aspects of your life.
Yeah.
Where are you all at with procrastination? How does it affect, or does it affect your life? And if so, how does it affect either your personal or your professional life?
Well, I don't procrastinate. What are you guys talking about? Teresa, I'm going to throw that to you really quickly.
Okay, thank you. So because I have so many things on my plate that I actually enjoy doing, that as a happiness coach, that is one of the things that I recommend people to evaluate the responsibilities that they have and to ensure that the ones that bring you the most joy are the ones that are always at the very top of your list. And so often the tasks that I have to do are all ones that I want to do. However, I think that some of the tasks that might be a bit harder. So, for example, I am presently in a PhD program, and that seems to be, it's not a task that can easily get done, right? It's a 4-year process. So, and I've
Right.
been trekking
Yeah.
away at it and chipping away. And because it doesn't have like an immediate deadline, I find that it's something that I'm putting off instead of chipping away at it every day. So one of my New Year's resolutions is to do that, is to try to work on it a little bit every day, because that's really the only way that I'm ever going to climb this mountain, is if I take those small steps every day.
Yeah.
Um, I think that if we evaluate the things that we may be procrastinating about and think about, why have we taken it on? Where is it on our list? Is it one of the things that we, have at the top? Meaning, like, is it something that brings you a lot of joy? Maybe if
Mm-hmm.
it's not, that's why you're tending to put it off, because it's really something that you don't even want to have on
Yeah.
your list of responsibilities.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's been dumped on you because of the shoulds and have tos, that, oh, I should do this because, or I have to do this because. And those are, again, red flag statements too, to say, well, I have this task to do, but I really don't want to. I really don't feel like it, but I'm in this position where I have to. And then, so I think we can, if it's a should or have to because it's a work responsibility, because, our manager has dumped it on us, then I think we can show ourselves a bit of compassion, in the sense that it wasn't something that I decided I wanted to put on me,
Right.
and
Right. Right.
it was
Right.
put on. But alternatively, if it's not something that was given to you, but you're taking it on, and it's like, maybe, I should reflect on this and think about, how much am I really enjoying this responsibility that I've decided to take on? Because t- typically, when we really love something, and we're following our joy, then it's usually something we want to do happily, because it's something that we really like to do, and it's not a burden in any way. So I can't speak to the responsibility, of what necessarily you have to get done for today, where it falls in that spectrum. But
Right.
that would be my 2 cents. Is it's always like, I'm evaluating, as I said, how much joy is this bringing me? How much joy is it going to bring? And if it is, then it's on my list. If and where it's on my list, as I said, it could be higher up or lower. Higher up are usually the ones that, as I said, brings me the most joy, and the ones that I do easily and happily, energetically. And the things that might be a little bit lower on the list, maybe like not as much, but most
Right.
things are, I feel really good about. So
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that, Teresa, and blessings on your doctorate journey as well, writing the dissertation.
thank you.
Sheila,
Absolutely. Snaps for
Sheila,
that. Snaps for
mhm,
that.
absolutely. Sheila, how about you?
This is an interesting contemplation for me, because I
Hmm.
think that I've really adjusted my perception of procrastination over the years. And it's giving me a moment to reflect back on that. I think on the outside, somebody watching me would say that I'm a procrastinator. And I have said that for many years to some, on those tasks. Why are those tasks not getting done? I do put in false deadlines because I've
Hmm.
worked for myself for over 20 years and so there's no one giving me. I mean, sometimes I do projects with other people and I have deadlines for projects and those get done. But even like in my home, I'll like get the whole house clean when Zach's got a friend coming over, not because that friend cares, but because it gives me a deadline to get down the things that I had been, letting go while I was in a creative mode.
Right.
So for
Right.
me, the adjustment is that I'm following my rhythms, I guess. So I find that when I push myself to do certain tasks because I think that they should be done now, for me, it often has to do with the so-called marketing side of the business, write this email or reach out to this person or do this social media. When I push on that to do it when I think I should, I don't do a great job. It takes longer. When I allow the inspiration to come and I just really let go and follow what is pushing me in that moment, inspiring me, bringing joy, I'm finding that more and more gets done. And I'm really reaching this year, this point where that's almost everything that I do. And whenever
Wow.
I'm like, oh, geez, I should be getting this out today, I just remind myself that when I don't push against that, I check in, like, is this just my lower stuff? But when
Mhm.
I'm like, no, I'm not feeling it, I'll go do a different task and then the words will come. Or,
Mm,
the person
mm.
reaches out to me instead of me reaching out to them. And I'm getting so much evidence that when I really balance the obligations I feel from outside with my inner flow,
Mhm.
it's like miracles happen all the time. It's wonderful. So,
Wow. That's a great place. That is a definitely great place to be. Brian, how about you?
Um, I think I'm a mix between Sheila and Teresa, where I think over the years, especially if I've gotten older, to discern the difference between procrastination and burnout.
Mm. Oh, what do you mean by that?
So I think sometimes when there's a lot of things that are going on in your world and your life, and you've got multiple things that you're trying to juggle, and you may get to a place at which you need to take a break. And I think sometimes in the past, when I've needed to take a break, I thought that I was procrastinating
Hmm.
and that I wasn't like, oh, well, you just need to brush that off. You need to get this
mhm,
done and da 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 da. And I was really in overwhelm.
mhm,
And so I think it was important for me to understand that if it wasn't a case where I wasn't in overwhelm, or even if I had a lot to do, that I could make the decision to uh, prioritize what I believed I really needed to go. Like first, go within and get
Right.
still and clear and focused, and then from that decide what is priority, and then around that decide what are those things that I'm going to do today, period, and not and let everything else go, and not and be realistic. Like I'm not going to be able to save the world, feed everybody on the planet, and all that stuff all in one day. But there's other things that I can do where I can feel that I'm making forward progress, um, and that I can take a break after that, and then schedule that break. I mean, that's another important part that I had to learn how to do. Schedule breaks for myself where I did absolutely nothing, and it
Mhm.
felt wonderful,
Oh my
absolutely
gosh.
wonderful.
Absolutely. No, I like that because that's really paying attention to where you are and, like you said, going inside and then dealing with that feeling of overwhelm versus necessarily pushing through it. Now, I can tell you for me, last night, and I left the office, quote unquote, early at what, 9 p.m. working on this thing
Wow.
because it could have gone a lot longer had I not already had a running start. But in some ways, I don't know, it it was giving me momentum. It was giving me some added energy to, make something happen. I would prefer me to use my flow, like Sheila was saying, and to embrace it and to get it done. So then it's a quality product. Now I know what I turn in will be a quality product, but
Of
I
course.
probably could have avoided the stress that went along with it last
Mm,
night and then staying away from the home, several hours longer than I would have wanted to. So there's certainly consequences. So that's what I want to talk about next. You all are what are the consequences maybe that you have encountered as a result of waiting to the last minute, waiting to that 11th hour because I'm used to doing proposals and I've never done a proposal that didn't go to the
right.
11th hour. So, that's clearly something that I'm going to continue to work on. But what about you all?
Well,
Sheila?
I tell you what, why don't we take a quick break? And then
Okay.
when we come back, we'll talk about that because we want to make
All
sure
right.
we get our audience in on this as well. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hold it right here, everybody. And we'll be back in 60 seconds.
Are you ready to take that first step towards true, unwavering inner happiness? Are you like thousands of people who have everything they need, not want, but need, and still can't seem to find happiness and fulfillment in their lives? If so, the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, you will learn about the principles and practices that lead to true inner happiness. Because guess what? It isn't found in our external environment, but within ourselves instead. Together with my guests, we will explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices. And together, we'll advise you on the actionable steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. So I invite you to join me each week on Soulivity TV on the Steps to Happiness show with me, Teresa Greco.
And we are back with This Morning with Soulivity with myself, Brian, Chanel, Teresa, and Sheila. And we're talking about procrastination. And I had to say it like that. Um, and so we were talking about Chanel, you had a question for all of us in our audience as well around this.
Yes. So again, procrastination is waiting to the last minute to do a task that you may not necessarily enjoy. And I'd like to know, have you encountered any consequences? Because as it turns out, as I mentioned at the top of the hour, that 20% of the US adult population are chronic procrastinators. And it can have serious consequences in terms of undermining career growth. And, that could lead into disrupting teamwork, which could affect morale. It can even lead to depression and job loss, according to research. So, from your perspective, what are the consequences that you have encountered as a result of procrastination? Teresa, do you want to start us off?
Sure. And so just before I respond to that, I want to just address this. So I'm an educator by profession, and what we're seeing in education, including in higher ed, so post-secondary, is that this procrastination and missing deadlines is actually becoming a problem in that there are a lot of students that are making excuses for the fact that they're not meeting deadlines at school or even at work, where people have committed themselves to particular responsibilities and then are not meeting them, and then they're being excused for like different reasons, and it's like what are we really pardoning, in the sense that if we want to be helping our children and our students to be prepared for the world that they're going to be a part of. Meeting deadlines is something that is a part of the workplace. And if we continue to just say, well, it's okay, and they make different excuses for why they can't get their assignments in on time, like it's chronic. And I've had like
Mhm.
different post-secondary institution instructors and professors tell me how they are seeing a decline in student responsibility in a whole bunch of different areas. And this is one of them, in that they are not meeting their deadlines. And so I'm like, wow, if Dr. Chanel, to say that, you're at a different stage, where you're in the workplace and you have, and this is an issue, and it's an issue for 20% of the population, as you said. And it's like, what are we, well, what kind of generation of people can we expect even to continue to come up if procrastination is becoming a problem, and that we don't, we're not dealing with it, and we're pardoning, and we're just being kind of lax about it. And
Mhm.
those professors are being lax for it for different reasons. One of the reasons that I've heard is because of evaluation, because at the end of the semester, if they want to keep their jobs and whatnot, they may want to treat the students a little bit, more favorably, and maybe not as tough. Whereas like a long time ago, it was like, you didn't get it in on time, like it was a zero. And I know here in our education system, even like starting at elementary, the government has changed it where kids can't even get a zero anymore, that they can continue to like hand in late assignments, and educators have to mark it. And it's like, wow, so they can hand in something like, and same thing in high school, they can hand in something like last day of the course, let's say, and still be evaluated on content. It's like, where in your real life can you hand in, a proposal 3 months later and
I
have
can
it be
I can tell you this,
considered?
Teresa, if I hand in the proposal after the deadline, I won't get the bid. So
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. So I
right.
just
Right.
wanted to add in, this situation, in that it looks like, we could be seeing more and more of it as our young people continue to, move through education and come into the workplace. So I think that'll just be my comment. I'm sure some other people have some other things to say to respond to like what the consequences might be. But ultimately, what I wanted to say is that in some cases there are no consequences. And I think that that's a problem, because exactly like what you said, Dr. Chanel, if you don't hand it in today, you're not getting it. So
Thank you. Thank you, Teresa. Sheila, did you want to comment?
Yeah. I was, well, first let me respond to what you said, Teresa. I think that natural consequences are definitely part of the process.
yes.
And it's fascinating to think about the outside consequences in school, and I'll go into that in a second. But for me, obviously, if I don't achieve something on time, then I would have a natural consequence, and from outside, right? Like you said, Chanel, if I'm submitting something and it has a due date, it's not going to be approved or whatever. But for me, one of the big consequences has been that it weighs on my head. So it takes up mind
Mm.
space. And because it takes up
Mm.
mind space, I get negative self-talk. And then that creates more discord. So that's the piece that I've been shifting and focused on moving. And when I spoke about how I've learned to just follow my flow, that is part of the process. As I let go of my negative voice talk and self conversations and just allow the flow to come, I always get things done in time. But I also, when I'm given a deadline from outside, I always get it in. And it's amazing to me. And it isn't even of judgment, because I'm going to keep being the way I am. it's amazing to me how many times somebody from the outside says, wow, you're the first person to get it in. And I feel like I'm getting it in at the last minute. So I do think that workforce is also changing. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So I think we have to look at what structure is. These people, these children coming up, they're creating a world of their own. So, it's so fluid, and I would still give consequences probably to teach them that if I were a teacher right now. But if it changes, then that means that the workforce is also going to change as they move up. And I already see it changing. So those are my thoughts on that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sheila. Well, in the time that we have remaining for this segment on procrastination, I'd like to go ahead and give you a list of tips that I hope you find useful. I'm certainly going to be applying these more for myself. So let me read these off to you. So the first thing that you might want to consider, just in terms of consciousness, is figuring out where you are with your journey in procrastination. And maybe it could be dealing with fear. So if it is fear, face your fear head on and find out, where is this coming from? Spend some time sitting with how you're feeling and what you think is prompting your procrastination. And from a practical standpoint, one thing that you can do, and I'm sure that Teresa has done this in terms of writing a dissertation, is to list out all the tasks that are associated with getting this project, this assignment done. And then perhaps you could prioritize it, working backwards, like reverse engineering, and then block schedule time on your calendar and put those specific activities on the calendar. So whether it's meeting with the prospect, and then the next day I'm going to write the summary from that meeting, and then the next day I'm going to do an outline. You can segment your task. And essentially the next step is to break the task down into smaller steps. And I think Teresa talked about this, breaking it down bit by bit, step by step, even baby steps. If you're going to write a book, start, do a dump in terms of your topic, and then maybe talk about a title, and then talk about a quote. I mean, you can take a step every day towards your assignment. And then also, again, just going back to the awareness, recognize when you are starting to procrastinate, and don't give in to that urge unless, like Brian said, you're feeling overwhelmed. And maybe that's a call to take some time out and be still again and go back to where things are. Why is it? Why are you dealing with it? But if you can resist the urge to procrastinate, do it, because it will pay off in the long term in terms of having less stress heading into that project. And then when you're doing your project, eliminate distractions so that you can actually focus specifically on one task at a time. And once you get started, you might gain that momentum. And then I'm going to say Sheila might agree with this, but when you're all done with the assignment, so when I turn in this proposal today, I'm going to maybe go get me, I don't know, a cup of hot tea and sit down and sip it undistracted. But reward yourself after you have done, the list, after you've broken it down into smaller pieces, after you plunged ahead and completed the task. Reward yourself, so then you can start to build up this muscle so that you can handle procrastination more effectively going forward in your next assignment. So those are some tips. I hope you might choose one or two of those that might be helpful to you.
Wow, I love this conversation. I think we don't think a lot about how procrastination and plays a role in our everyday life. And I think we need to kind of think about it sometimes, because it does happen. We do kind of stumble, and
Mhm.
we need to kind of like move and shift. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll go to our next topic of the day. We right here on This Morning with Soulivity. We'll be right back in 60 seconds, y'all. You can find all the Satonic products at our Go shop on Soulivity at go.soulivity.com now. Shop for beauty products, skincare, hair care. It is all there at the Go shop. Go shop Soulivity. And welcome back to our bottom of the hour segment with This Morning with Soulivity. Want to do some shout outs to a couple of people who have been, I would say, some of our regulars. We really appreciate you. Karen and Renee, thank you so much for joining us each morning. For all of the other people that are listening, please let us know who you are, where you're listening from. We want to know that we are empowering you every single day. So, with that, I want to make just one quick announcement before we go to our next topic. Coming up on Monday is here in the United States is Martin Luther King's birthday. It's a national holiday here, and we're going to do a special tribute to honor the life and legacy of this American hero. There's going to be clips and discussion, and we really want you to be a part of that. So mark it on your calendar or go to one of our social media channels, YouTube, Facebook, and mark it on your calendar to remind you about this very special event. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Teresa for our next topic of the day.
Thank you. And so I think that this piggybacks off of Dr. Chanel's question and topic is the idea of creating new habits. So again, because it's the first week of the show and it's still the beginning of the year, and my topic the other morning was talking about New Year's resolutions. How do people feel about them? Do people create them? Don't they? And so to kind of tie on to that, as well as around procrastination, is creating maybe new habits. And that can be so tough that when we are trying to make changes in our life, like, right out of the gate, to say January 1st, I'm, going to eat healthier. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to, try to work 10 minutes earlier. Like,
Right.
those really habit changing things that are on the list that, they, and I've read different things that sometimes it takes 21 days to create a new habit, 28 days to create a new habit. So if, I don't know, I would tend to think that the 28 might be a little bit more realistic, but I just find that creating new habits is really tough. So what I wanted to talk about is, if anyone else feels like that, because I feel like I'm also one of those people that kind of out of the gate, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do this. And I'm like all pumped. And then like a couple days into it, I'm like, this really sucks. And it's
I think we all resemble that remark.
this is totally hard. And it's because there are a whole bunch of systems, even just within you, that you need to be aware of that are literally fighting that, right? That as you're trying to make that shift, that on a mental level, it's like you might have thoughts that initially are like, yeah, I can do this. And then I'm noticing, on the mindset level, that it's like, this is really hard. And Teresa, like, you thought that this was going to be easier. And I don't know if you can do this. Like, this is how against you, your body can actually, and it's important for us to be aware of that, because then it's like we can start to guilt ourselves, right? There's all the emotional part that then plays into this too, that it's like, oh, you're such a loser. You have no willpower. And what do you mean you can't do this? Like, like you thought you were so strong. And it's like, then you're not feeling good on an emotional level about it. And then mentally your mind is like, no, just go back to how it was before, because that was much more fun. And it's like, so you have that you're battling. And then physiologically, depending on what kind of changes you're trying to make. If it's exercise, let's say, your body's like, ow, it hurts. And
Yeah.
you may like
Yeah.
initially be feeling like you have less energy, because that's typically how it goes when you start with exercise, is that first, those first 2 weeks can be really tough coming into like a new exercise program. So then your body's also like, no, just press on the snooze button. You don't need to go to the gym today, because like this is these are the things that happen, right? So it's like,
Right.
I just wanted to open that up, that I think, we're at that point. It's like the 12th of January, and I'm sure people, as I said, out of the gate had some habit changing goals on their list. And how do we stay more committed to those goals? How do we ride out some of the innate things that our body will also do, that says like, no, you don't want to make this change? How do we push through that? How do we, so that we can get to that other side? We can get past the 21 days, if it is, or 28 days, whatever it is. How do we get past that so that we can actually stay committed? Because I know that, like, with some of my habit changing ones, it's starting to, like, that fight is starting to come in, and it's personal, right? It's not like anyone else is saying anything to me. It's the ones that I put on the list, and for all the reasons that I'm saying, my body is like, Teresa, you don't need this change.
Right.
You were
Right.
fine. You were fine
Right.
where it was
I
before.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Teresa, I think this is a really good topic to piggyback on procrastination. So, yeah, creating new habits. I know for me, I can share that I I consider myself to be very health conscious and health minded, and Brian knows this very well, because we talk about health and fitness and things like
Mhm.
that. But I still give in to my cravings for chocolate, and I know that I'm not
Yes.
one, even on this
Yes.
Mhm.
That was
platform
last
on this
night.
morning with Soulivity. But for me, a real quick example, my husband brought home a Hershey almond chocolate bar for me. I didn't even ask for it. He's a loving, lovely husband. I love him to dear to life. And I did not want it. So I decided, you know what, we're going to tuck that away. I don't need it. I don't want it. But one night I had a stress night. And when I came home, that was the first thing that I went and grabbed. And so sometimes changing a new habit for me is a little difficult when I'm stressed or when I want
Yes.
a response to my stress. And so that made me feel good. I didn't have any shame or guilt behind it. I didn't have any lingering thoughts, but I would like to break that habit and not have I'd like to find another stress response other than going to the chocolate. And so I think this topic is really good because hopefully we'll come up with some strategies as we move forward, Teresa.
Thank you. And I was guilty of that last night. I was like, I was reaching for the chocolate too. And even though there was, it was dark chocolate. So,
Yeah, it's an easy grab, Teresa. It's an easy
right?
grab.
It's so tough. The chocolate is tough. So I'm with you on that one.
Me too. And Janelle, I love what you said about there's a few things in there I wanted to jump on. And one is your husband who you love so much gave you a gift.
Yes.
And sometimes I feel that it's about wanting to be good to somebody else, right? Maybe our politeness or our self-reflection, and maybe this is more in women, but I'm sure it's in everyone. Like, I'm always thinking about the other person. So you don't want to hurt someone, but and you also had your little stash for when you needed it. So
Right.
the
Well,
other
I
thing
just
I
have to laugh
say,
here because I've been married over 25 years, so we've got something going on here, and you'll be okay.
yeah. So I liked what you said about not getting upset with yourself when both of you went to it last night, but because I think that again that self-sabotage comes in. But we have Karen over in the messages wrote that she writes the goals down. And that's another thing that I was thinking of. I put it on my calendar, right? Like it's got to go on my calendar and just have it repeat every day. And also put notes in, and then tell the people who are around me. So not because I want them to be my gatekeeper, but I feel more accountable when I know somebody else is
Yeah.
watching, right? Even
Yeah.
if they're not judging me, I take advantage of my self reflection that I think people are judging me, and do that as well. But then there's that, when I think, Teresa, you brought up how we reach that point where even our body is saying, wait, don't do that, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And to me, I consider that like I call the ego our primitive desire to survive, or instinct to
Mm,
survive. And
mm,
so it's a real natural thing that, keeping status quo is safe. And the ego programs itself to try to keep you as safe and preserved as possible. So it's having a little dialogue with that part, whatever you call it, that part of our body, talking to our body, talking to that part of us that is just trying to survive, and getting them back on board with the journey is another thing. And then there's one other like really practical thing. This came from a writing exercise. So the exercise, for example, was write 15 minutes every day. And then after a few days, you go up to a half hour, or you add 5 or 10 minutes. I think it was in smaller increments. I think it was starting with 5 minutes. But if you skipped a day, most of us, if we skip a day, like say you didn't go to the gym, now this time you're like, well, I'm going to do an extra good workout this day, the next day to make up for yesterday, or I'm going to eat even less today to make up for what I ate yesterday. And then that sabotages us. But
hmm
if you go the opposite way, so if you miss a day in that writing exercise, you were supposed to go back to 5 minutes and stop at that 5 minutes mark, um, and build your way back up again. And it wasn't a punishment, but it was instead of building up, because if we just keep building up on the things that we didn't do, now we have this huge, overwhelming mountain to get through.
Right, right. Ladies, I mean, you guys stole all my thunder. I mean, all
Oh,
the
Brian,
tips.
you got more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, wow. I mean, this is a great topic. Teresa, I mean, I think everybody gave like great tips on how to create new habits. Are there a couple more that you may think of that we can kind of end this segment on?
No, I think no, I don't. But I think that, one of the ones that I was going to offer is very similar to what Sheila mentioned, is just, to stop. And Karen in the comments is, written something similar to that, counting to 10, which is, to stop and address that dialogue, that inner dialogue that's happening within us, whether it's that little devil on the one shoulder and the angel on the other. That was kind of that was the visual that came to mind, right?
Right,
Where,
right.
the one is like, oh no, you can have that chocolate. There's the devil on the one corner. And then the other one's like, oh no, you stay committed to your habit. And you have that like going back and forth, but just, to stop. And if you have the reminders, again, the writing down, I think is helpful, just to reflect on what it is that you committed to. And I've heard of that strategy too, just stopping and breathing for 30 seconds, that in that 30 seconds, oftentimes we can reconnect and realign with the truth of who we are in those 30 seconds. So breathing is a wonderful way for us just to bring us back to that which we really are, which, yes, thank you. Even me saying it is just such a good reminder that I'm going to have to do that, because I was not of bringing, the nervous system, back into alignment too. You go into that stress mode and you're like, oh no,
Mhm.
I need the chocolate. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been so good. That's me. I've been so good for this many days. I can have that like glass of wine, or like that piece of chocolate, or,
Right.
these type of games. So I am going to try the breathing technique for 30 seconds. It's one that was shown to me where basically you inhale for 7 seconds and you inhale for 4 and you exhale for 7. And you just do that for 30 seconds. And it's amazing how that exhale for 7 seconds makes such a difference to just bringing you back to who you really are. Because
Absolutely.
I've done box
Absolutely.
breathing before, but that 7-second exhale is the game changer. So I try to share that as much as I can. And that is one that I really find just brings me back to, what commitments I made, to myself or in a variety of different areas. So that would be my strategy.
Perfect. Thank you for that topic, Teresa. That was great.
Thank you.
Listen, we're going to go into our next segment, but we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in 60 seconds.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
And welcome back to our last segment for this morning with Soulivity. And we're going to toss this over to Sheila because I know she's got a great topic.
Well, I think we need to bring some joy in. We've gone through 2 great topics of, how to improve ourselves, overcome some obstacles of procrastination and sticking to our goals. So I think it's reward time. I am, one of the team players in the Joy Keepers group that is on Facebook,
Yes.
and we focus a
Love
lot
them.
on joy. And I made a decision in my business several years ago to base all my decisions from a place of joy. So I just want to hear what everybody here does, what brings them joy, and how you get back to joy when you need that little extra reward or reminder.
Well, I love this topic, so I'm going to take a point of privilege and go first. Joy for me is music.
Mm.
I absolutely adore and love listening to music and then dancing to music. Every time I do it, it just fills my soul and it uplifts me. And it doesn't matter what it is. Now, if it's some old Motown, that really gets me going. But that's how I find joy. And so, what about you, Chanel?
Similar to you, Brian, I love music and I love to dance. And so whether I'm dancing in a competition or dancing for recreation or dancing at home, and if you'll hear me talk about my husband a lot because I really love him a lot.
Aww.
He comes because I dance on myself at home. So if he comes up and dance with me, I am off to the moon and it's hard to come back. So I love dancing with my husband. That brings me a lot of joy.
Wow. Teresa?
Thank you, Sheila, for this topic.
I think we're all smiling now.
Oh, geez, that's like a happiness life coach. It's like you kind of ask for like a better
Joy?
thing to
You're
talk
asking me about
Right.
joy?
right? And following your joy, like where you are very
Yeah.
intent on bringing that forward from the inside out versus the other way around, right? That we're
Yeah.
very conditioned to look outside of ourselves for those sources of joy, but we need to be guided by following our bliss from the inside and allowing that to direct us. And so I just wanted to mention about how I talk about having a happiness toolkit, and that in this toolkit we have all of the different things. And if you could, picture a tool belt with all the different tools in it, it's like that we have this toolkit of all these different things that we know help us to connect with the joy that's innately a part of who we are, and that it's important that we're intentional and conscious about the things that bring us joy, so that we can add those things to our toolkit, so that when we are having a bit of a low day and we are out of alignment, we can immediately turn to our toolkit and say, oh, I'm going to have that playlist that's the same thing for me. I love music. I have a playlist on my phone that's called Feel Good Songs. And as soon as I put that on, I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Right. And then, all of a sudden my body's moving, and it's starting to bring me out. And so being out in nature is one of those things that is,
Me
as I
too.
start to connect with, the universe on the outside, that I start to feel lighter. I start to feel, less heavy. And so going out, exercising, moving my body, listening to podcasts and books. So I have like certain speakers that I love, Dr. Wayne Dyer being one of those, who, whenever I listen to something of his, I'm just like, oh, Dr. Wayne, I miss you. I miss you. And because he was just
Yeah.
always one of those, I call him one of my spiritual mentors that, when over 10 years ago, he's one of those people um, that I got to know, and, big fan. And so I turned to him. And so it's important for us to be consciously aware of things, whether it's cooking or drawing or writing,
Right.
hanging out with
Right.
people,
Yeah.
and that we make a conscious effort to add those things to our toolkit, so that we can immediately turn to those things when we're feeling a little bit low.
That's awesome. Thank you, Teresa. And
Yeah.
you can always get to Dr. Wayne Dwyer. I'm
Yes,
laughing when you
yes,
said that, because I
yes.
channeled him at an event one time, not on purpose. It
Oh,
came through,
wow.
and
Cool. So
there was people in
cool.
there that were like, "Oh my gosh, that was him." So that you got access. Just go into
So
a
cool.
meditation and hang with him. I
Yes.
am with you on nature, and with you, Chanel and Brian, and music,
Mhm.
dancing. I love to dance around my house. I love when Zach and I, we just get goofy and giggle, and we laugh so much, and just the two of us. And I just love laughing with all kinds of people. But birds are my thing too, or any type of nature or animals. And I have a bird feeder, one of those window bird
Yes.
feeders right up,
Mhm.
and the birds just come, and I talk to them, and
Aw.
they sit on my windows when I'm in the different rooms meditating, and I just get
Mhm.
so happy when I'm connecting on a real
Mhm.
conscious level to people and animals and trees.
That's
Wow.
Yeah.
This was a joyful topic. See what I did there?
yes.
Yes.
See what I did there?
You're
Yeah.
good, Brian.
Listen, while we've got some time remaining, I want people to know that, again, part of what we do here this morning with Soulivity, I mean, we talk about all these different topics. Some are about current events, some are about just purely empowering and about personal and professional development. And as part of that, each of you have something that you offer and you share to our community. And sometimes it changes from time to time, but there's always something new that's there. So, Dr. Chanel, I know that you have a current offering that you're offering people right now. Can you tell us a
Yes.
little bit about that and how people can get more information?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Brian. So I have a total transformation RX. masterclass on Friday, this Friday, January 13th at 3:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We go 90 minutes and we will be talking about the mind, body, soul, and emotion. We'll probably be talking about some of the things we've talked about today and also this week, but it's really to focus to get a prescription for you to go to your next level, your higher level, and accomplish your dreams of what you are hoping to accomplish in 2023. So just join me today, even at 3:05 p.m. on Facebook Live, and we'll go for 5 minutes. And today we're talking about spirit, which will be awesome. And then I will give you the link, and perhaps we can put the link in for Soulivity too on the Eventbrite to register. The masterclass is free, but you do need to register. So I welcome any listeners to join me tomorrow at 3:05, and we'll be talking about your total transformation. Thanks, Brian.
Wow, that's fantastic. I'm gonna definitely be listening in on that. We have a premiere today on for the third season. Is it the third season?
Yes.
Of the Steps to Happiness with Teresa Greco. This dude is amazing. I've since I helped produce the show, I get all the have the inside information. Tell us a little bit about the first episode, Teresa.
Yes, I am so excited for the third season of the Steps to Happiness show. And so that's why I'm like, oh, we need to give a shout out for this in particular after coming off of Sheila's topic of what kind of things bring us joy, in that we have Robert Mack on the show today. He is a celebrity happiness expert, been featured on lots of different shows. He's Ivy League educated, lots of great acclaims. And so he is going to be talking about his book, Happiness from the Inside Out. Well, he will be sharing 8 tried and true tips about how we can create more happiness, health, and wealth in our life. So it is I love all the episodes of this season, but to kick it off, and I think it just piggybacks off of what we just finished talking about this morning, is that how can we bring more happiness into our lives? And Robert is a happiness expert that we can rely on as well to give us some of those tips. So I encourage people to check out the show today for the live show at 12 p.m. Eastern. And then anytime after that for the replay, you can find it on soulivity.com/steps to happiness.
Yes. I can't. You guys, you will not regret watching this show today, everyone. Listen, it's
so good.
It's so good. Sheila, what about you? I know you've always got something going on.
Well, I do. Today, I will be live on another podcast as a guest. So at 1:00 Eastern time today, I'm going to be on the Spiritual Reality Show. And that's on my social media. So if you find me on Facebook or Twitter and YouTube, you can find those links for that. We're going to be talking about manifesting. And another topic that I love is we're talking about Sense 8, which I'm going to bring up as a topic here someday. But the other thing that I want to share with you is that a wonderful way to start your new year and to really get in alignment with your soul and connect to the energies that guide you is a soul connection session. I do individual soul connection sessions, and you can find those on my website, SheilaApplegate.com. And in this session, we'll have a conversation and we'll see what you want, but I can help you connect with loved ones who've crossed over, your spirit guides, your divine guidance, whatever you call that, or take you through a personalized meditation, which has it's a technique I developed, conscious meditation, and it weaves together hypnotherapy techniques so that you're actually present and communicating yourself with your loved ones or spirit guides, or getting to know your soul better. So you can find that on SheilaApplegate.com.
Wow, this is fantastic. We're running out of time. I just want to remind everybody of our special program honoring the life and legacy of Martin Luther King coming up this Monday, January 16th, which is the national holiday here in the United States, celebrating his birthday. It's going to be a great discussion. Most of our hosts are going to be on giving their commentary as well as we play historic clips that are important to his life. So thank you, everybody, for being here. This has been great.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
this
you,
has been
everyone.
wonderful.
Thank
And
you.
and thank you to all of you out there who have been listening in. Remember, you can catch us every weekday, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. right here on our social media channels or on soulivity.com. Until next time, listen, keep having real conversations with
Yes.
passion and purpose to create a life full of high quality living. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.